Breaking news. Tensions are at a boiling point in the Indo-Pacific, with the world's attention now fixed on the South China Sea. The region, long a flashpoint for rivalries, is now the epicenter of a rapidly escalating crisis. Chinese Coast Guard vessels have attacked a Philippine supply ship near 2nd Thomas Shoal with powerful water cannons, in a brazen attempt to block resupply missions and assert dominance over disputed waters. At the same time, a record number of Chinese warplanes crossed the Taiwan Strait's median line, simulating a blockade and sending a clear message of intimidation to Taiwan and its allies. These are not isolated incidents, they're coordinated moves, part of a broader strategy, pushing the region closer to open conflict than ever before in recent memory. The air is thick with tension, the waters crowded with warships from multiple nations, each maneuvering for advantage in these contested seas. On one screen, a small Philippine vessel is harassed by a fleet of Chinese ships. On another, Taiwanese jets scramble to intercept Chinese bombers, highlighting the multi-front nature of the crisis. A U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS John Finn, patrols nearby, signaling American resolve and a warning that the United States is watching closely. The region feels like a tinderbox, waiting for a spark. One miscalculation could ignite a wider conflict. Strategic ambiguity has vanished, replaced by dangerous clarity. Diplomats and military analysts alike are on edge, tracking every move. China's actions are more aggressive and frequent, aiming to normalize its military presence, exhaust its neighbors, and shift the status quo in its favor. The Philippines stands firm, refusing to yield its sovereignty, determined to defend its territorial rights despite overwhelming odds. Taiwan remains defiant, a democracy in China's shadow, its people and military bracing for any escalation. The U.S. is drawn in, trying to deter aggression without triggering war, coordinating with allies to maintain stability and uphold international law. The world is watching, breath held, as gray zone tactics give way to open military posturing. Every development is scrutinized, every maneuver analyzed. The question is no longer if a confrontation will happen, but when and how it will begin. The stakes have never been higher, and the world waits anxiously for what comes next. What brought the Indo-Pacific to this tipping point? The answer lies in a complex web of history, ambition, and rapidly shifting power dynamics. Years of China's relentless military buildup and the dramatic militarization of artificial islands have set the stage for today's tensions, transforming once peaceful waters into potential flashpoints. Now, Beijing is enforcing its sweeping territorial claims with increasing force, using its Coast Guard and Navy to intimidate rivals. But its neighbors have had enough and resistance is growing. The Philippines is pushing back harder than ever, publicizing every act of Chinese aggression, rallying international support and calling on allies to stand firm. Taiwan, learning from Hong Kong's fate, is accelerating its military modernization, betting on asymmetric defenses and investing in cutting-edge technology to deter invasion. China sees this resistance, especially when backed by the US and its allies, as a direct challenge to its authority, and responds with escalating military pressure and aggressive maneuvers. Daily incursions into Taiwan's airspace and harassment of Philippine vessels are no longer just posturing, they're rehearsals for real conflict, raising the stakes with every encounter. Every move risks miscalculation and escalation as military leaders and diplomats scramble to avoid disaster in an environment thick with suspicion. The region is trapped in a classic security dilemma. Each side's defensive measures are seen as provocations by the other, fueling a dangerous cycle of action and reaction. Buffer zones have vanished, red lines are blurred, and warships from rival powers now operate dangerously close, sometimes just meters apart. It's a high-stakes game of chicken, with each side testing the other's resolve, and so far, no one is backing down. The Indo-Pacific is now on a knife's edge, where a single misstep could ignite a conflict with global consequences. Taiwan has just made a historic shift, offering direct support to modernize Philippine military bases under the U.S.-Philippines Defense Pact. This marks a move from passive defense to proactive forward defense. Taiwan is no longer waiting for an attack, it's extending its security perimeter. The logic is clear. If China controls northern Philippines, Taiwan could be encircled and cut off. By helping the Philippines, Taiwan invests in its own survival, keeping the Bashi Channel open. This is a strategic gamble, showing Taiwan is an active security partner, not just a bystander. The message to Beijing: any conflict will be regional, not isolated. The risks are real, but inaction is riskier. Taiwan is betting its future on changing the region's strategic calculus. Taiwan's pivot echoes Israel's transformation after the 1973 Yom Kippur War. From reactive defense to proactive deterrence, Israel learned it couldn't wait for threats to reach its borders. It had to disrupt them early. Taiwan, facing overwhelming Chinese power, is drawing the same lesson. The old porcupine strategy, deterring invasion by making it costly, is no longer enough. Now Taiwan is working with partners to shape the security environment beyond its shores. Helping the Philippines secure the Luzon Strait isn't expansionism, it's self-preservation. The first line of defense is no longer Taiwan's beaches, but the waters and islands to its south. When survival is at stake, proactive measures become necessary. Taiwan's new doctrine is about deterrence, not just endurance. This Taiwan-Philippines partnership is possible thanks to new U.S. laws like the Taiwan Policy Act and Indo-Pacific Security Assistance Initiative. These acts break down barriers, allowing the U.S. to facilitate direct cooperation between Taiwan and its regional partners. The old hub-and-spokes model is out. A networked security architecture is in. The U.S. can now fund, coordinate, and enable joint training, information sharing, and even arms transfers between Taiwan and the Philippines. Trilateral military exercises and shared defense systems are now on the table. The U.S. role is crucial, providing political cover and strategic weight. This signals to China. This is a coordinated U.S.-backed effort, not a rogue alliance. The trilateral relationship is a direct response to China's assertiveness. Washington knows bilateral ties aren't enough. A networked front is needed. The Taiwan-Philippines-US nexus closes a major strategic gap in the First Island chain. It transforms the region's security from isolated matchups to an integrated deterrence network. The rules of the game have changed. The northern Philippine bases, especially those on Luzon and in the Bashi Channel, have become the heart of Asia's strategic contest. These locations are now bustling with military activity, as both local and foreign forces recognize their growing importance in the region's security landscape. The Luzon Strait is a vital choke point, connecting the South China Sea to the vast Pacific Ocean. Every year, thousands of commercial and military vessels pass through these narrow waters, making it one of the busiest and most strategically significant maritime corridors in the world. For China, controlling the Luzon Strait means securing crucial routes for its navy and tightening the noose around Taiwan. It's not just about access, but about projecting power and influence far beyond its shores. For Taiwan and the U.S., denying China access to the strait is essential, not only to prevent encirclement, but also to keep vital supply lines open. The ability to move reinforcements and resources through this corridor could determine the outcome of any conflict. Modernizing Philippine bases isn't just charity, it's a direct investment in regional defense and deterrence. Upgraded runways, hardened shelters, and advanced logistics hubs all contribute to a stronger, more resilient front line. Sensors and missiles on Luzon now create a layered defense network, threatening any Chinese fleet from multiple angles. This web of surveillance and firepower makes any hostile move through the strait a risky gamble. For the U.S., these bases are the linchpin of its Indo-Pacific strategy, enabling rapid response, pre-positioned forces, and a credible deterrent against aggression. A U.S. presence on Luzon, combined with powerful forces in Japan and Guam, forms a formidable barrier, one that can quickly shift from defense to offense if needed. The Philippines' cooperation is the key to this posture, providing access, local knowledge, and legitimacy to allied operations. The geography here is brutal and unforgiving. Whoever controls the Luzon Strait holds a decisive advantage in any Taiwan conflict, shaping the course of events before a shot is even fired. The stakes for all sides could not be higher. A miscalculation could trigger a crisis with global consequences, drawing in powers from across the world. The battle for the strait may ultimately decide the region's future, determining not just who controls the waters, but who shapes the destiny of Asia itself. This trilateral partnership is already taking shape through real actions. Militarily, joint patrols and shared radar systems in the Bashi Channel give all three nations a real-time operational picture. Economically, Taiwan is investing in the Philippines, building supply chain resilience, and reducing dependence on China. Defense-related manufacturing in the Philippines means jobs and technology transfer. Diplomatically, the Philippines leverages ASEAN, Taiwan builds informal ties, and the U.S. amplifies their message globally. This multi-pronged approach raises the cost of aggression and creates shared interests. The partnership is more than military. It's economic and diplomatic too. It's a holistic strategy for a complex threat. By working together, they deter conflict and build prosperity. This is a modern alliance for a new era. Taiwan's direct aid to the Philippines, backed by the US, is a strategic nightmare for Beijing. China's divide-and-conquer strategy is now challenged by a united front. Any invasion of Taiwan now risks immediate entanglement with Philippine and US forces, a potential second front. Beijing will likely respond with economic pressure, propaganda, and military drills to intimidate and divide the alliance. But Taiwan and the Philippines are betting that cooperation deters, rather than provokes, Chinese aggression. The goal: make the cost of war too high for Beijing to contemplate. Yet, there's a risk. This could convince Chinese hardliners to act before the trilateral shield is fully operational. The region now balances on a razor's edge. This partnership could prevent war, or spark it if China feels cornered. The stakes have never been higher. The Taiwan-Philippines-US partnership is a pivotal experiment in 21st-century Asian security. If it succeeds, it could inspire a web of similar alliances, flexible, resilient, and able to deter aggression. This model lets smaller nations balance against larger powers, upholding international law and stability. The optimistic vision: a region where cooperation prevails, economies thrive, and societies prosper free from coercion. But the risks are real. This bold stance could accelerate, not deter, conflict. The coming months will test whether solidarity can withstand Chinese pressure. The future of Asia may hinge on whether this new deterrence works. The world is watching to see if democracies can hold the line. The storm is gathered, but a more secure, cooperative Asia may yet emerge. The next act is about to begin.